Hello, hello. Thanks for joining us, everyone. So glad to have you here. We are right at 11:30 in my time. I'm Alice Daumert. I am CEO and whole being architect at Prasada. Hello to those of you who have not met before. I'm actually an hour earlier. I'm visiting my family in Louisiana for a big family wedding. So I'm a little bit of an impromptu studio, but I am super excited to be here today. Elayna Toby Singer is a person that I met a long time ago. She was in the Philadelphia area working at the Morris Arboretum, and in my past life as an exhibit designer and architect, we worked on a lot of really exciting things at the Morris Arboretum. So I'm super happy to have Elayna here with us today. I'm going to let her, when she talks about her background, I could read her little bio, but she's got really a very interesting background. And so we're going to start off by having her just introduce herself. And then she's going to tell you a little bit about the upcoming event that we have, not this Saturday, but on August 13th. And we've got a lot in store, nice conversation to have today. So Elayna, tell us a little bit about yourself and what event we've got coming up.
Super. Thank you. It's so wonderful to be with you all, new friends, longtime friends. Thank you for this opportunity to gather today. Well, we are all multidimensional beings, and my path has been one from multicultural education and cultural anthropology, environmental education, and art, and well-being. That kind of makes up, used to be a square, triangle, and now it's a square, all of these interconnected aspects of my work. And it's all about creating art experiences that move and move you. And we'll get more into that in this conversation today. And in the event, in the online workshop that is coming up on August 13th. Today is just a few days away from our Friday the 5th is our deadline for registration. And in that workshop, we'll be involved in making and movement and mindfulness and music. And again, we'll hear a little bit more about what's that all about in our conversation today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And I always love connecting in with Elayna because she's always got cool stuff in her background, and she's got her cool earrings and all of the things that she kind of is going to bring to this workshop. So we just kicked off the month of August. And so for those of you who have been following us this year, we decided to pick a theme for each month. It helps us focus. And we also know that there are just certain times of the year that things are sort of naturally bubbling up for all of us. And so when we got to thinking about the summer, and we got to thinking about, there's a lot of energy in the summer in July where many people are at the beach. Elayna is in Florida, so she lives at the beach. And when we think about August, we think about those sort of last dog days of summer. But then I know that in the back of my mind, I start thinking about September. I start thinking about in September, it's the back to school, even if you're not back to school. And we start to envision this idea of what's coming ahead. And so this theme of create, a lot of times people think of that as being an artist, that you're only creating if you're an artist. But if you're a human being and you're living life, you are creating. And so one thing just for this month of August is, for some of us, thinking of being a creator, being creative is totally natural. We've been doing it since we were little kids. But oftentimes, for other folks, they just say, "Oh, I'm not creative." So in the spirit of that theme, I would love to just wonder this month about, art. How are you creating? So Elayna, with this focus on create, what are some of the benefits of creating? And Elayna has recently introduced me to this term called neuroarts, this form of neuroarts. And how will people in the workshop experience these benefits? What's in it for us? Where am I going to spend a Saturday morning in August? What's going to happen?
What is it we're going to create together, right?
Yes.
Well, so let's start with what is neuroarts. It's a new-ish term and a new-ish field of study that is all about researching the benefits of having arts experiences and being involved in aesthetic experiences and the benefits to our health and our well-being. Very broad definition. And while it's a new area of study, it is not a new area of experience. We all have had the experience of some kind of arts related experience, either ourselves as a creator, as a dancer, as a singer, as a doodler, as a cook. We create, we've been in beautiful places, whatever that beauty is to us. And we've also been observers. We've been at perhaps a musical performance or a dance performance. We've heard music on the radio. And the science, the neuroscience, how do these arts experiences and artful places improve our health and well-being is neuro, right? It's brain health. And so that is the science, that is the study of this burgeoning field. And there are professionals all over the, not just country, the world, who are actively engaged in the documentation of these changes. Everything from Alzheimer's disease to our mental health, and which we, again, experience every day. So what are some of the ways that we're going to experience improved health and well-being in our workshop? We're going to be making, we're going to be working with our hands. We're going to have a multi-sensory, actually all of our senses are going to be involved except for tasting. And so in that kind of multi-modality approach, we will naturally have these benefits, this benefit of this feeling of resilience, these feelings of hope. And it's, for example, in the mobile making process. So everybody in the workshop, ahead of the workshop, will receive their very own special balance bag, as I call it. And everybody will have some native tree seed pods and a ribbon and a mirror, all kind of disparate parts, but as Aristotle said, the sum is greater than the individual parts, right? And by putting these things together into a mobile, we transform everyday objects, and in the process, we transform ourselves. And we have this experience of accomplishment. And I just get the chills because every time it's kind of a surprise, it's kind of magic that we can do this. And in that feeling of accomplishment, we feel hope. We feel, creating, transforming something is an innately hopeful act. And also when we're working with our hands, our mind is differently engaged. Our worries go away, and our positivity increases. So those are that's a little glisten of a preview of how it is that creating and neuro arts are part of what we'll experience next Saturday.
Yeah, I love that you talked about, just even being the observer. In positive psychology, we talk a lot about just generating positive emotions.
Yeah.
Most of us know that feeling. They know that feeling when you smile across the room with somebody, you make that connection. And those positive emotions actually have that physiological impact in our bodies.
Yes.
When you're feeling happy, when you've seen something beautiful, that's kind of the first step, is to start to recognize what are the beautiful things. And then in the workshop, there are also going to be different little, we're going to keep a few little secrets here, different little exercises or thing that Elayna is going to be
Activities.
guiding you. Yeah. And so this process of making with your hands, tapping into the not the thinking and planning side of your brain, and then the connection experiences. And I think we've all spent a lot of time on media, on Zoom, but I think we've all discovered that we still can connect through these tools. And in a lot of ways, it's given us the capacity to connect to a lot of different people that we would never be able to physically connect with.
Absolutely.
So this process of we're going to have this experience with each other, with the exercises you'll take us through, and then in the end we will have this token, this real material thing that is now can be part of your environment as another. Every time you will see that thing, you will have a little trigger, subconscious trigger of not only what it looks like, but that memory of
Yes.
what we created together.
Yes. Yes. And the mobile making process is a metaphor. It is a metaphor for cultivating balance in one's life. And just as it's not easy to feel and experience and create balance in one's life, it's not easy to create a balanced mobile, as simple as the materials are. And during the workshop, we are going to imbue each of our individual mobiles with symbolism and meaning and grow that metaphor. And we will take some time to focus our intentions for our own balance and also for our greater connection to the environment and to nature. And so, again, while it's not easy to create a balanced mobile, focus, calm, we attain that success. We have that, and everyone's is unique, no matter how many thousands of workshops participants we've had. Every single mobile is original because it is your expression. And as you've said, the mobile is not only something that reminds you of the experience, but the intentions that you each imbue into your own making for balance are an encouragements to shift, right? That's what the mobile is. It's this encouragement to shift, as it moves, it reminds us to move, and it reminds us to move toward balance.
I love it. So, you mentioned this idea of connecting with nature, but Elayna and I both share a love for trees. So how did you start loving trees? Like how did that all start?
Well, people say, what kind of artist are you, Elayna? And I say, well, I work with trees, I work with the wind, I work with community. And that love of trees began when I didn't yet work with trees and I was a jeweler. And I was making earrings and necklaces and I was working with beads. And it was at the Arboretum, I was at the Morris Arboretum where you and I met and when we first worked together, that I started to transform little wearable mobiles, if you will, into my first mini mobiles. And I was collecting twigs and seeds from the ground of the Arboretum and combine them with the beads to make my first moving works. And then over time, my work has grown, but always trees have been at the center. And I think my real answer about trees is that when I was in my hunters and gatherers cultural anthropology undergrad webinar, and we were talking about the universals of culture, plants and agriculture was one of those things, right? All peoples along, all spectrums of time and history, plants are elemental to all society. And I remember having this kind of aha moment. And it wasn't until years later, as I was finished with undergraduate school and seeking to, figure out what was next in my life, that I started to volunteer at the Chicago Botanic Garden, where I'm from. And that really was the trajectory into a 15-year career in public gardens. And over the years, I have said it once, I have said it twice, I speak for the trees, right? And we all do. And that's part of the experience of the workshop and of the very, elemental aspect to the work that I do. And that is connecting us with our treeness,
Mhm.
you know, from the air we breathe to the clean water and, um, all of it, the shade, the CO2 absorption. We couldn't be alive if it wasn't for trees, our shelter, our medicine. And then, over all the years, I went from being an environmental educator to being an environmental artist. And specifically within the educational realm, it's this idea that if people have information, they'll change their actions, right? We empower people through information. Well, as an artist or artivist, as an artist activist, it is that it's taking it kind of that one more step in that it's to that emotional attachment and that embodiment that happens through making, and that multi-sensory. It's not just our brain where or I should say our mind and our intellect. When we're learning, we're all up here. And so the work that I've transitioned into over these, past second 15 years, in this past 15 years, after the prior 15 years of being in the public gardens, these past 15 plus years of being, art focused and community engagement focused, for the health and well-being of ourselves, our trees, the environment, because it's inseparable. It's inseparable.
Yeah, I remember when Elayna and I were working together, and some of you guys might remember it was the Garden Railway that had hit Morris Arboretum, and it definitely changed. So many people wanted to see that, and what was the coolest thing about it was the whole entire railroad landscape. All the buildings were made out of pieces and parts, basically tree flotsam and jetsam. Sometimes I call it,
Yeah.
and it was so fun to sort of walk around that exhibit and try to, and I still will do it every now and then. I'll see a little piece on a tree and I'll
Yeah.
say, oh, that was the little fuzzy top on the whatever. So that just, you start to get that awareness of, the trees do leave us little gifts. And I love nothing more than picking up those little teeny tiny pine cones and
Mm.
the sensation of just holding those little pine cones in my hands.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this
Mm-hmm.
whole idea of we can go beyond just hugging the trees, that
Yes.
sensory experience of how do we relate to them? How do we see them?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Yes. And what's so amazing about, again, neuro arts with the science studies are showing, and this is long known actually in the horticultural therapy realm of things. This is, been again a long standing knowledge, is that, to this question of we're going to be in a Zoom experience, how are we going to feel connected to nature, via our computers? And what's so profound is that when we see photos, when we see images, when we have um, memories, when we have imaginations related to nature, we get some of those same biological, physiological, and emotional benefits that come from when we're actually in nature.
Yeah.
And where I reference the horticultural therapy, it's documented that folks in the hospital who have a tree or some green view outside their window leave the hospital faster, they heal faster, they use less pain medication, and their emotional state, their blood pressure, all those things are better. And so, just like the mobile will carry on, part of the workshop experience is we're going to connect again with our treeness in ways in our imagination. Recently a workshop attendee, I love that she said, Elayna, you engage your senses, but there's this other sense that we so often don't engage, and that's our imagination.
Mm.
And that's really helpful in our mental health and in our long-term feeling of that recall of a good experience and still getting those health benefits now. Um, we'll contemplate as part of, without giving the whole thing away, we'll contemplate a little bit about, what roots us.
Yes.
Where are we getting nourishment? What nourishes us? What are our leaves? What are we branching out for? These types of things. And uh, that's part of the mindfulness. It's part of the self-contemplation, but it's also part of that imagination. And those activities, we in the announcement talked about doing a tree self-portrait. This is not a workshop that you need any previous art experience for. Come as you are, come with you have everything you need. And once you have your balance bag and you bring a pen, you'll be well suited.
I love that. And I love, it makes me think about, it's like going to the gym. You get benefits from going to the gym,
Yeah.
but then the real the real benefit is that you get to hike the Grand Canyon. So I feel like you're also in this workshop cultivating a much deeper level of awareness
Yes.
and that imagination to where then when we go out into our yard, into our communities, we have a different lens that we start to see who are the tree friends, the
Yes.
landscape that's around us. Elayna knows that I have a tree that I adopted a couple of years ago when my daughter was going off to college, and it had very deep roots. And I thought this tree has been here a long time, and I'm going to come here and honor you to build my own deep roots. So that's a whole nother layer about
Yes.
you're helping us, and in a way, doing it inside and focusing on the particular elements of this and doing the exercises is giving us that tool set to where when we do go outside, we see it and experience it in a bit of a different and more just more engaged manner.
Mm, love that. The mirror piece of this, I often, besides that, I'm a mirror freak. Little known secret here. I love mirrors. In my garden, I have mirrors. I love how it transforms a blank wall into the reflection of the green, right? And the reason why we incorporate the mirror into our mobile is it's about self-reflection, but it also brings the environment into focus.
Mm-hmm.
And it is plus it brings the light fairies, which you'll learn more about that in the workshop.
I love it. I love it. I love
Yes,
it.
yes, yes, yes.
They're just so many just really beautiful elements. I'm super excited. Um, so we talked about sort of touch. We talked about sight. Definitely the the aspect of we're going to have those tangible things that we can smell that you're going to send us in the beautiful balance bag. But let's talk about your little ditty singing. How did that come about, and how does that this whole sort of audio hearing? It's more than just talking. So how did that come about?
Well, me llamo es Elayna Toby Singer.
Ah,
Elayna Toby Singer. And also, when you asked about the tree connection, it reminds me, my parents did not know this when they named me, but Elayna is tree.
ah,
So I kind of feel that I don't
you're a
know,
tree
I
singer.
was, tree singer, there you go. So I always have loved singing. I grew up in some choirs. I did some musical performance, summer camp, singing before and after the meals. Singing has always been just such a joyous, like uplifting experience. I always feel happy when I'm singing. And, I'm so upset always when I hear people say, "Oh, well, I don't have a good voice." And people have been socialized to think that that's what singing is about. And we all have a voice and we all have our voice. And we all benefit when we hum, when we sing to the radio, when we sing to Spotify. And like our conversation earlier about memories, instantly, it takes us back to a past experience, to the meaning of that moment, just like that special tree or nature experience. The same is true with the song. And when I started to get into all of the brain health, I was in the process of getting ready for, I was commissioned to create a workshop, which was the really embryo of the idea that we're going to experience together next Saturday. And the International Kinetic Art Festival commissioned me to do a workshop, and I called it Moving Toward Balance. And I was thinking, I wonder what the benefits are to our health and our well-being singing. I've always felt it, but what does the science say? And of course, the more we have oxygen, the better we feel. So the more we sing, the better we feel. And then the educator in me and the artivist in me was thinking, how can, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, we all learn by singing. We all in our earliest days learn the alphabet, for example. And I was thinking, well, how could I harness the power of song into this experience? And so I wrote a handful of original songs for the workshop. And I won't say more about that, except for that all of you who will be participating in the workshop on August 13th will get to experience it for yourself. And they're all about cultivating tree love and self-love and fun. It's fun. Ditties are fun. Last little story about singing is that it's very impromptu. I like to make up little songs, and I often my family, when I call and leave birthday messages, they do it as a message because they want to replay them. Because if I just sing it and try to repeat it, I often don't remember because I'm so in the moment. But it's playfulness, it's silliness, it's fun. It's a
Yes. And I love in the workshop that you'll also sort of share with us more about this vagus tone. And
yes, the vagus nerve. I was going to touch on that.
another,
Thank you.
yeah, a whole nother level of those sort of physical benefits that we do naturally. On our team, we laugh because when we start having a stressful moment, one of us will start saying, "Yes, we are going into HubSpot. We are checking the box." So that's going to be a whole nother element. So I just popped, if you're joining us through Zoom, I just popped into the chat the registration. In order to get you the balance bags, Elayna's working hard to get those all ready. So the deadline for registration is actually this Friday. So make sure that you get signed up for the program. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. I'm Alice at Prasada, Prasada, wholebeing.com. If you're on Facebook and you need any or more information, I think there's an event set up on our website. But if you have any trouble, please feel free to reach out to me and we'll get you connected. And Elayna, my friend, my beautiful tree singer friend, so glad to have you here today. So glad we got to have this conversation.
So
And
wonderful, and wonderful to see everyone who's here.
and even when Elayna's not singing and I talk to her, just this the sound of her voice, I get that little lift, that little joy, that little bit of excitement and aliveness. I think that's the other thing I will say about creating. Creating shows us that when we create with our hands, like we are creating life, and that's about
Yes,
flourishing. That's about
yes,
our whole thing about at Prasada. We believe everyone has a desire to thrive.
yeah, beautiful.
That making that life of health, purpose, and joy.
Mm.
It all ties in, and it gets to feel good.
Yes, it's a hopeful act. Creating is a hopeful act because it's transformative. There's
Exactly.
something, you go from nothing-ish to something-ish,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
we surprise ourselves in the process.
I love that. Elayna, also, one of my favorite quotes from Elayna is that everything is possible. So thank you guys. Check out the other resources that we have around Create. Those are on our website. If you have not been someone who has joined us for the N for 10, those happen 3 times daily. through, again, Zoom and also on Facebook. Those are 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of yoga for movement, 6 a.m., noon, and 3 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you again, Elayna.
Thank you,
And great,
everyone.
yes, great to have you all here. Well, hopefully we'll see you soon next Saturday for the Create Balance program.
Beautiful.
Bye bye.
Bye.